When we talk about catalogue records, we talk about resources and copies. On the cataloguing homepage, in the top right-hand corner, in the information section, you can see how many bibliographic resources, or resources for short, and how many copies you have. Bibliographic resources are the information that you download from SCIS. It describes the resource, its title, author, subject, series notes, the descriptive information. Copies are the barcodes you attach to the records. They describe your holdings. Let's say you had 2 copies of Treasure Island. You'd have one resource record, Treasure Island, with the author's name, subject, series, etc. And you have 2 barcodes or 2 copies attached, which represent how many items you have. Typically, your copies is more than bibliographic resources because you have multiple copies. In my training system, I've got more titles than copies because I've got a lot of ebooks. And ebooks don't have barcodes, so therefore they don't need copies. If you'd like to see how many titles you've got the number there. How many resources you've got, you click the number there. How many barcoded items you have, you click the number there. Now with the copies, those copies may be on loan, they may be missing, they may be available. That's just a total number of all the copies that you have. So when we talk about catalogue records, we talk about resources and copies. When you download a record from SCIS, you're creating a resource record. When you attach a barcode, you're creating a copy. If you add 2 barcodes, you're creating 2 copies. During the process of removing catalogue records, called weeding, if you remove a copy, one of the questions you get asked is, do you want me to check to see if this is the last copy? And if so, you could remove the resource at the same time. Otherwise, people would search your catalogue and find a title and have a cross next to it because there's no copies available. Also, on the right-hand side of the screen, just about halfway down next to alerts, I've got an option that says 2 resources require physical copies but don't have any. What that's indicating is Oliver has checked and found that there's actually 2 resources that don't have barcodes attached. That may be that way for a couple of reasons. You may have downloaded a record from SCIS and not attached a barcode yet. That's very possible. Or you may have downloaded a record from SCIS in the past and attached a copy to it, a barcode to it, and since then you've removed the copy. So therefore there's a resource there without any copies attached. The number resources require physical copies but do not have any is not a problem. It's just something you should be aware of, and it does indicate that Oliver's detected something that's not quite right. It's not going to break anything, but it may cause confusion with people searching. Okay, we'll go to cataloguing. I'm going to go to resources. On the resources screen, you can search for records that you wish to run a report of or check that you've downloaded, maybe remove or make some other changes to. So essentially, on this screen, you can search for records that you'd like to group together to make some sort of change or just review. At the top of the screen, like we saw for borrowers, there's a Tag Manager button. In the Resources menu on the far right-hand side of the screen, there's also a Tag Manager option. They both do the same thing. Borrower records can have tags. They're stored in one place. Resource records can have tags. These are stored in a different place. So there's tags related to resources and tags related to borrowers. And essentially tags are post-it notes or markers which help you locate records easily without anyone seeing how you've searched for it. It's like a behind-the-scenes way of searching. Every weekend, Oliver checks every ISBN in your collection against the ISBNs in the Premier's Reading Challenge list. If there's any matches, it adds your titles to the relevant Premier's Reading Challenge list depending on the year level. As well as that, it also inserts extra information in your catalogue records, including the Premier's Reading Challenge number and a Premier's Reading Challenge abstract. The reason we do this is because this information isn't available in SCIS. It's extra information available from the Premier's Reading Challenge group. If you'd like to see which records have been updated as a result of this matching of ISBNs, click the Tag Manager button, and 2 of the tags that are there are PRC, Premier's Reading Challenge Abstract Updated, and PRC Number Updated. In other words, during the process of checking ISBNs, we found a match and put in the abstract or the Premier's Reading Challenge number. If you'd like to see which records that affected, for example the abstract, click the triangle next to PRC abstract updated, and it shows the records. In this training system, there's 199 records affected. You'll see that some of the records have two tags represented by two icons. If you hover the mouse over the icon, you can see that one's PRC number updated, the other one's PRC abstract updated. The first record there, the 30-story treehouse, only has one tag, the PRC abstract updated, and that may simply indicate that someone's taken the tag off, that the number's been added, or maybe maybe somebody put the number in manually. Nothing serious there. If you don't really need to see this information anymore about when the abstract or number is updated, you can remove the tags. It's very similar to the process we saw for our borrowers. You click the Tag Manager button. Next to the tag that you don't require anymore, there's a rubbish bin icon. In this case, PRC updated. I click that rubbish bin icon. You get a warning that it may take a couple of moments. Click OK. And after a couple of moments, depending on how many tags are to remove, the records that were attached to the tag are displayed, but the tag has been removed. The tag is still displaying here because some of those records had two tags attached. One was for abstract, one was for premise reading challenge number. So click the Tag Manager button again. This time click the PRC number updated icon. Click the remove tag. Click OK. And there's no tags attached to them. If I click the Tag Manager button again, neither of the Premise Reading Challenge or PRC tags are still displayed there because a tag only exists when there's records attached. If during the next weekend Oliver detects that there's an ISBN matching in your Oliver system which matches the PRC list that didn't already have the abstract or the number attached, it will recreate the tag and attach it to the record. So on a regular basis, maybe once a week or entirely up to you, you could go to Tag Manager and see if Oliver's done any work with the PRC abstracts or numbers if you want to. Tags, the little luggage tag icon you see at the top of the screen, are only displayed behind the scenes and can only be searched using the Tag Manager option. They're not a keyword searchable thing like any other word in Oliver. Okay, so that's an example of an automatic tag that Oliver adds for you. You can also create your own tags. And sometimes you might use tags to group records together so you can locate them anytime you like, maybe for a display or something. So if I went to, say, Cataloging Resources, I'm going to search for, just say, Anzac. So I don't physically have the resources in my hand. I'm just going to search for them. Might look for Anzac books, perhaps. Search for those. I've got a few there. And I might want to tag these and call it Term 1 Anzac Project. So if I click on a record, when looking at the details, one of the options you've got is tags. And there's an option to add a new tag. If you click Add New Tag, a window is displayed. You can use existing tags, or you can create your own tag. I'm going to call this Term 1 Anzac Display. I'm going to set my Anzac display in the library. And click on Add Tag. When the screen redraws, I can see the tag name displayed next to the record. If I click back on the list to see all my records, I can see that the first record list now has a tag next to it. If you'd like to add that tag to all the records, you can go to the Resources menu and choose Bulk Tagging. When you choose Bulk Tagging, you specify Add or Remove. I'll say Add. Choose the tag Term 1 Anzac Display, that's the one I'd like to add, and click Select Tag. The message displayed, 4 resources have been scheduled to be tagged with Term 1 Anzac Display during the next housekeeping. Housekeeping runs every night. It's a function that runs automatically every night. So overnight, that tag Term 1 Anzac Display will be added to all those records for me. If there's only a small number, like 4, you probably wouldn't bother with bulk tagging. What you can do instead is tag the first record like I have, and go back to this list. From the list, if you click the tag Term 1 ANZAC display, it redisplays the records with tick boxes next to all of them. I could then go through and just tick the other items I'd like, or choose select all and put them all in that list, in that tag list, and click save. Once it's saved it, click the cross to get out, and they're now all tagged accordingly. If I need to find these records in Term 1 to set up my ANZAC Day display, I can click the Tag Manager button at the top of the screen. I've got a Term 1 ANZAC display tag. I click the little triangle to display those records. There they are. Tags are useful for searching for records using the terms you set up. That tag is not displayed by others in the search screen or by anyone else, it's just for you. If you wanted those particular records to be searchable by people easily, you could use the list function, reading lists. There are some documents available telling you how to set up reading lists, and I'll just demonstrate this very briefly. This has been covered a couple of times in previous courses. So once you've identified the records you want, that may have been through a tag search that you set previously, or you may have some items in your hand, so you might have actually scanned their barcodes in. At the top of the screen there's an option called Scan One or More Barcodes. In the menu there's an option called Multi-Barcode Search. They both do the same thing. So if you had some items in your hand that you'd like to add to a list, you can click on Multi-Barcode Search and scan in the barcodes, your school barcodes, not the ISBNs. Scan the school barcodes of the items that you'd like to add to that list. I've got a couple here. Scan in the barcodes. Click on Search. It shows those titles. And if I'd like to add them to a reading list or a list, I can go to the Resources menu and choose Manage Authorities. When you choose Manage Authorities, you choose which authority file you'd like to add to these two records. In this case, I'd like to add it to a list. What's the authority term? So what's the name of the list? In this case, it's Term 1. Just type in the first few letters. ANZAC Studies, something like that. Add it, and I can set an expiry date. If you set an expiry date, on that date, the automatic overnight housekeeping process will remove the titles from this list. So I might set it to say end of May, 2019 in this case, and click on Save. So they've been attached. If I click on one of those records, such as 1001 Bugs to Spot, and scroll down a little, you'll see there's a list called Term 1 ANZAC Studies. Lists are available for anyone to view. If I go to the search screen in the top right hand corner where the magnifying glass is, if I click on Reading Lists and scroll down a little, there's a reading list there called Term 1 ANZAC Studies. If I click on Term 1 ANZAC Studies, there's the resources. So tags are used behind the scenes. Lists are used for everyone. Lists are searchable. I could type in Term 1 ANZAC Studies and search for it. I could just type the word ANZAC and find it. I could type in Term 1 and find it. I could type in Studies and find it. But tags are only available behind the scenes for staff use only behind the scenes. I'm just going to return back to the management area now by clicking the management icon.